I don't like it either. What do you want me to do about it? I can't tilt it down any further. They need to figure out a way to like open up so like the laptop can be at the proper angle. Yeah, you can go live. Who cares? We need a way to have the laptop be at a proper angle so that I can tilt it back like a normal person, but the camera like fixes the perspective.
Put it on stuff, and then you were.
You want me to type like this? What are we doing here? How am I supposed to do that? No, I can't.
I've done that before, and I've been on the road.
I'm not. What's that? A marionette?
Yeah, that is a marionette. Correct.
NBA Deeper Dive. It is Thursday, November 16th. I am Josh Engleman. I am joined by Chris Spags, and boy, oh boy, does this one feel like an old school show. It's a lot better for me when it's on the NBA streets than the NFL streets. Shout out to Vivid Picks for being the sponsor of this bad boy. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, notification bell, all that good stuff. Follow us both on Twitter handles below our names. What's going on, man?
I'm excited to be here. We were having a fun little chat before the show, which is why the show's starting up a little late. Poor Jordan's like, I want to do my job, which Jordan is always begging for. And we were just shooting the shit. So excited to be here. It's a 2-game slate, though. Lots of fun to talk about. And Josh, I have a man that I think could be Tim Quarterman adjacent, because I don't think you're going to line like Mr. Brandon Pajemski coming up late, but I feel like he's got some Quarterman vibes.
Pajemski got drafted in the first round like a real player, not some made up fake dude like Tim Quarterman. Dude, that's still the most ridiculous thing, man. He got panned in the middle of the show.
Again, there was a great situation. If you guys missed this, of course, this is like now 6 years ago almost, that Josh and I were just catching up on some of the various things from back in the day. And I had recommended a player, Tim Quarterman, on a day where I think it was the Rockets, right? Where they had nobody else left. They had a guy, Quarterman, who had like pretty nice advanced analytics. I was like, this guy could be a guy. And they cut him in the midst of the show, or right after the show, actually. So I still played him and it did nothing, obviously.
Oh, it was so good. It was so good. Yeah, I'm not when we get to Pajemski, we could have that conversation. Adam and I dug into it a lot this morning. And I'm intrigued to see. I have not looked at any ownership since then. So if we've refreshed or done anything, this is all going to be brand new to me. Only 2 games. I hate it. It means that we have to talk about basically every player across every team, but that's okay. That's what we're here for. I'm going to get paid one way or the other from 5:30 to 6:30, so I don't really care how many games there are.
That's vacation Josh right there, just enjoying his life on the road. But that is everyday Josh as well. But I do think the vibe, you look refreshed, you're glowing a little bit, the hair looking less like certain dictators from parts of the country that we won't name. So I think the energy's right for me. I'm happy to be here today.
Yeah, I got away from that the unfortunate aggressively German look. I don't know what I went to today, but let's hope it's working. You ready to do this?
I'm excited. I got the money hat on. I'm ready to go.
There we go. Don't you have like 27 of those?
I have 1, 2, 3, 4 behind me. They're always behind me, ready to go at any moment. But I need to change the juju around. Monday Night Football went really, really awfully in like a way that was not like, oh, this went bad. Like I was wrong about this. It went bad in a way where passes are bouncing off of guys' hands. So I was like, screw it. I'm just going to put the money hat on today. And I might just go all the way back to the bid. Everybody's wanted me to do it for years. I resisted. The money hat's back, and I'm going to make money signs my brand once more.
Might as well. You need to. Can you change the S's in Spags to $signs on Twitter? That would be a good one. It'd be a lot of $signs.
Yeah, look, I mean, that would be a little bit overkill, I think, at that point. But especially with Chris too, then I would have to have $3 in my name. Yeah. But I guess I could. I got
to type that out just to see how ridiculous it looks. $CHRI $sign. Oh yeah, that's preposterous.
I like that you really needed the visual. You couldn't conjure that up in your head at all.
Well, it's 3 letters out of however many are in there that I can't remember right now.
It's 30%.
That math is hard. Yeah, that's a lot of $signs in there. Yeah, I don't have an S in my last name at all, so I don't get that. I just got one lone Josh S. That's not enough.
Yours would be appropriate. You would be Josh with $1 but with mine, it's too many.
Even middle name, no dice.
Yeah, I don't have any S's in my middle name. I'm Daniel in the middle name.
I'm Harold.
Ooh, I did not know that. Josh Harold.
Yeah.
Honestly, can you be one of those people that just goes by your middle name and now it's like, and Harold Engleman now with the process, and that's some smooth jazz plays and you're reading your spreadsheets by the fire.
Harold Engelman would be my dad, and even
Oh,
he doesn't really go by it.
oh, okay. Not even Harry, like straight. Yeah,
No, he
yeah.
goes by Smokey,
I
and
did
for
not
the
know
exact
this.
reason you would assume.
Okay, I love that you're living up to the rep then of old Smokey Engelman.
Big campfire guy.
He's actually a bear.
Yeah.
He's, but like in the community, kind of a bear.
So at some point in time, obviously, he's going to be no longer with me. I'm going to get a tattoo of Smokey the Bear, like with bloodshot eyes.
Oh, that's
That's my
pretty
plan
sick.
moving forward. Yeah,
Okay,
it'd be
I
good.
like that as an honoring thing. That's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
I was like, all right, I'm like, I don't have any tattoos. I'd like to get something. Nothing really else matters. Like I could never think of something that I'd be like, yeah, I should definitely get that. That one I would never like hate. So I think it'd be pretty funny.
Smokey the Bear is
Just
iconic too, so I think it's a pretty good
yeah,
one. Yeah.
just like full on baked, trying to prevent forest fires. Oh, Sports Wiz, did we get the lip tattoo yet? No. The next time that I'm in the like company of anybody else that I work with, we're just gonna get it done in some way and end up somewhere and get it and do it.
Prison tattoo
It's really
style.
hard to like prompt myself to do it like around town. I just don't think about it.
You're
I
as long
will
as you're willing to
like
pay off
it's
the
not that
debt.
I don't want to. Jordan tried. He called multiple tattoo shops in Chicago.
Yeah, I mean, and if Jordan can't get it done, nobody can. We know that.
I mean, Jordan put what did I just do? Jordan put in a couple other calls during that day, and we was able to procure things I needed. So that he can get it done. He can get it done. He's a man, and he's like Red from Shawshank. He's a man that knows how to get things.
I love this show already. I'm glad,
I
glad I
have a
signed up for this show.
fantastic joke that I cannot say on this stream. I cannot say it on this stream. I'm going to send it to both of you. It's great, but we cannot talk about it on the stream. You want to talk about the Brooklyn Nets?
I would love to.
They are 3.5-point dogs in Miami, 214 total. No Cam Thomas. He's out with the sprained ankle. No Ben Simmons, out with whatever, nerve impingement. 35% ownership coming into Cam Johnson. And then basically 25 to Mikal Bridges, Nick Claxton, Royce O'Neal, Spencer Dinwiddie. For Brooklyn, who stands out most to you?
I think it's got to be Bridges. I have some concerns about the minutes load. I was watching some content around the industry today and looking at the popcorn machine as well. And just the short stints for Bridges, I think the kind of thing that you don't want to see for a guy who's 8K on a short slate. But I do think relative to salary, relative to positionality, the dual position eligibility that Josh always talks about, it's very important for the lineup builds. I do think Bridges is a core play for what you're trying to do. Sim-wise, gotten about 55% of the time. So he would be the play I look to the most. And then probably behind him, number 2 would be Cam Johnson. But I think it's a pretty runaway vote for Mikal Bridges for me.
So for right now, I lost my workbook. Let's get back to that. The two guys that I have the most of are Cam Johnson, $5,900 power forward. That was the first carbonation of that beer coming up a little bit. 5,900 power forward. I got 45% of Cam Johnson right now. I think there's a lot of minutes to be had. Only got 29 in that last one. I went 31 for today. And I'm getting to Nick Claxton at 6,100. And I think a lot of that is happening because of the fact that I'm a little bit lighter on Bam Adebayo, and it's just freeing me up a little bit more for center. And all told, I want some of the centers for Brooklyn, whether that's Day'Ron Sharp at 4,400 or Nick Claxton at 6,100. I think there's a path for one of those guys to be pretty good. If you get the 28 minutes that we got out of Claxton 2 games ago, I'm going to feel really good about getting him 1.1 to 1.15 fantasy point per minute guy. But if you don't get those minutes and he plays 21 like he did in the last game, then I'm going to assume Day'Ron Sharp has become like a very interesting value play, getting 18, 19 minutes if Claxton doesn't end up being the dude. So I like that combination of both. I only got to 9% of Sharp, but we're only projecting 5, but 36% of Claxton. I'm about, 50% over the field.
So I did not get a single share of Claxton, so now I have some buyer's remorse on that one. But looks like ownership wise, he's not coming up a ton either, unless let me double check what I'm pulling in here. But I think in this
a name
spot,
issue, do you have him as like Nicholas or something?
I'm wondering if that's the case. Yeah, 22.5. No, because it's Nick, and now he's Nicholas on Stokastic. So I might need to do a sheet merge again before I actually put my lineups in. So I didn't get him, but that actually might be a user error thing, would be my guess.
I assume that Stay Odd. So Stay Odd on Twitter, Stay Odd _ DFS just tagged me and said, just designed Josh Engleman's new tat of a stoned out Smokey the Bear. And it's great.
Oh, wait,
I assume he tossed
it.
it into like Dolly or, some sort of chat GPT, one of those like image generators. I love it.
That's incredible that we are now like the AI stuff. I'm a little bit leery about. I don't know how you feel about it as a content creator, but so like I think it's helpful and all that. That said, like the fact that you could just turn around this exact image that Josh has thought about in his head to honor his father within 2 minutes, basically 3 minutes. Like that's an incredible marvel of technology.
It's so great. It's so great. Might have to edit it. I might want to get a joint in the mouth, but that's neither here nor there. We can ruminate on that one a little later.
So I'm looking at my Claxton stuff. I did have him right, so I got him right when I put the sim data in. So I think I just didn't get him, to be honest.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm a big fan today, and I tend to run a little heavy on Claxton, but I only have him at 1.08 fantasy points per minute for the game. That's a little bit under what he's done on the season. Obviously, small sample. It's a little bit underneath where I have him as a baseline, which is 1.10. So I don't feel too crazy. I guess it's all about the minutes here. If you think that he's going to get 28, and I think that's or more, and I do think that's Brooklyn's goal every night, I'm a big Nick Claxton guy. So, stay odd, hit us. Dolly for sure. I don't know if that's how the way you're supposed to say it, but that's the way that it looks. So that's the way that I say it. What do you want to do with these other goons? The Dorian Finney-Smiths of the world getting no ownership. Royce O'Neal getting 23%, but better positionality there. I'm not really getting to Dinwiddie all that much. I even gave him the minutes bump, but 29% owned, 6,900. What do you want to do with the rest of Brooklyn? It's a weird team.
Yeah, I think they're kind of flyer guys to mix in. Nobody projects that well. Nobody's salary looks that great. Nobody's a value of note. Like the best value to me on the slate, or on the slate for Brooklyn, rather, is going to be Mikal Bridges. And then, like talked about, Cam Johnson's pretty close. And actually, I the last correction on Nick Claxton, I did get 30% Nick Claxton. So I'm with the field on him. So
okay. That makes a lot more sense. Zero felt weird.
Yeah. It was the export into Excel where I keep all my data together and I put the sim stuff in here so I have it and don't have to click back and forth. But yeah, getting Claxton. So I think those guys were certainly like valid core-ish plays to have tonight. But all these other guys are just flotsam kind of guys, like Lonnie Walker, we know could theoretically provide a spike week. He's actually kind of shown a little more usage this year, and obviously a lot of usage go around without Cam Thomas in the mix, soaking up every shot that he possibly can. So maybe there's logic there. But the one I'm getting the most of does seem to be Royce O'Neal, dual position eligibility again, 5K salary. Not excited about her or anything, but Royce, 30.5 minute projection or 30-minute projection from Stokastic. I think that's probably why I'm getting him in my lineups.
Yeah, I've got him in for 30 as well. The interesting piece to me is just the relationship between his 23% ownership and Dorian Finney-Smith at 2. Do I think that those guys, I do think Royce O'Neal should be a little bit higher. He's playing a couple minutes more. These past 2 games, we only got 20 minutes out of Dorian Finney-Smith and then 24. If you're not optimistic in him getting back up into that 27, 28 range, that's where it starts to get a little nerve-wracking. But I think he's underrepresented if Royce O'Neal is getting that kind of ownership. It shouldn't be 23-2. If that was 21-6 or 7, then you stop caring. But at 2, if 2's right, that's too low.
Yeah, and they're basically the same guy. Like there are guys who would be great on a playoff team that does not seem like it's going to be one with the upside, that the Nets are not going to have a ton there, I would think. And I get it. I agree. I don't get why I'm getting so much more Royce. Obviously, projection a little better, the salary a little bit better, but it's not a big enough difference to justify that much ownership, like Josh is saying.
0.79 fantasy points per minute for Royce O'Neal on the season, 0.78 for Dorian Finney-Smith. But we expect Royce O'Neal to play a few minutes more than him. That just doesn't have to happen, though. So we'll see. And to be fair, and I want to be very clear here, I'm also not getting Dorian Finney-Smith. I just think it looks weird when I look at the data. From a practicality standpoint, I'm also just not happening. I'm not getting it.
Yeah, now that I know I have Nick Claxton, he's the only one I'm not getting out of the Nets is Finney-Smith. So yeah. Okay.
Are you getting any Day'Ron Sharpe?
Yeah, got a little bit 7% of him in the lineups I built before the show. So I think that's about right then. 30% Claxton, 7% Sharpe. You're kind of covering both outcomes enough and not taking up your entire portfolio. So I'm comfortable with that. And Sharp, we know, 1.2 fantasy points on the minute, or on the year rather. Obviously, when he's been chalk in the past, and a day I did a show, I've only been filling on NBA shows here and there. And Dayron Sharp, that was the day that he ruined everybody's bankrolls. For me, I'm okay with them still because I didn't play him that night. So that's basically where I land with Dayron Sharp.
All righty. Anything else you want to add here? Any Dinwiddie thoughts? I'm oddly light there, but I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I'm getting about less than half the field on him. He's not the strongest play. He's another guy whose minutes been moved around a little bit weirdly by Jacques Vaughn. And one thing too, I guess, to talk about with Cam Johnson real fast is that there was a weird stint. He didn't play in the second quarter of that last game, and it seemed like he was going to be on route to playing a bunch there. I guess the quote from Jacques Vaughn after the game was that basically like he thought that he stretched him out too much the last game, wanted to keep his minutes capped a little bit more tightly, ended up playing 29 minutes in that one. So maybe Cam Johnson can get up a little bit past 29 this game, but I expect him to be, Stokastic has him at 31.5. I think that's probably the upper band of what his minutes would be. But that's, I think that probably sums it up well.
Oh man, he got me with the joint now in the replies to that first one. It's better. It looks like he's smoking a telephone pole, but
I'm gonna have to search your at mentions now.
It's right underneath. It's like he replied to his own tweet. So if you have the other one up, you'll be able to get to that pretty quickly.
Wow. Okay,
but
I got it.
It looks good.
That is really good. Yeah. Where would you get that? Like your calf, your arm, your face?
Face. Yeah. I'm gonna get it just like who has it? Who's got the ice cream cone? Why can't I remember?
Oh, I know you're talking. Yeah, we're too old.
No, not Riff Raff. Yes,
Gucci Mane.
I couldn't get it out of my brain. That's because I'm still not at peak me after last night. Yes, Gucci Mane. Thank you. All right. Anything else for Brooklyn?
All the comments you got from Sheep Pones, and here you are in a stream pulling up Smokey the Bear smoking weed tattoo ideas. My body's just full of compliments today, so I don't know what else to do. I know what I can do. I can tell everybody to go ahead and get themselves a hell of a deal. That's pretty easy for me to do. You can use the promo code Millie and get 20% off our Sims tool, whether you want the NBA package or you want the NFL package. Maybe you want the NFL version so that you can be like Short Gamer TV and win the Millie this past Sunday. That's a pretty good outcome in DFS. You pick up $1 million for your work. He used the Sim tool, and you can use it too for 20% off if you've never signed up for it before. Maybe you're just in the NBA streets. Code's going to work for it as well. MILLY, 20% off. Got to be a new user to Stokastic, or have never used the Sims tool before. Come join us, guys. It's fantastic. It creates millionaires. Why wouldn't you want to be a millionaire as well? You too can be a millionaire by using that tool and entering that contest and beating 400,000 other people or however many people enter it. But shout out Short Gamer TV for real. That had to be an incredibly good feeling. It was the 555, so it's a little bit less. And I love Short Gamer. He's actually one of the few people that came from Stokastic over to Splash Play. So Short Gamer near to my heart. But I do have to get, it wasn't like 400,000. It was like, a couple 100,000 rich guys. So
yeah, exactly. Let's go to Miami. For real. You want to go to Miami? 47% ownership coming into a $9,200 Bam Adebayo. I am now up to 33%. I had much less earlier today. Did take a once over through his minutes and his props, and I was probably like a hair underrepresented for him, but 47% still feels like a lot for Bam with some of the center value that we have. Are you getting to Bam as a payout?
Yeah, I'm actually getting a little bit over the field on Bam, about 49%. So nothing too crazy. I mean, you could basically say holding hands, but for the fact that this is a 2-game slate, I think that is a reasonable amount over the field. I like Bam in this spot. I mean, I think he projects well center-wise. There really are a lot of other guys to go to. Obviously, you have potential spike game for a guy like Chet Holmgren, but it's not there in the projection. So Sims-wise, that wasn't coming up for me. But I like Bam. Like, I have no issue with him. He's been really strong on the year, probably a little bit over projecting him, I would think, with some of the assists and rebounds and points left behind by Tyler Hero. But like 28% usage on the year so far, 11% assist rate, 17% rebound rate. Like Jimmy seems like he's been laying back a little bit to start the year. Maybe that changes today with no Hero in the mix. But I like Bam in the spot, and I feel like maybe we're seeing some of the growth that Bam has perhaps had in front of him. That's they want him to have last few years, and I'm hoping I see it because him being the highest usage guy on the team, I feel like that's pretty stark shift from what's been in the past.
Oh, looks like the plumber just finally got to my house, so that's good to know. Also means that I need to turn off my notifications. Yeah, like I'm happy to get to Bam. I'm very interested to see how many lineups I'm getting with Bam and Shea. That'll be a very interesting dynamic. They are the two most expensive guys. Rest of this team that's getting ownership, 31% to Butler, 23 to Lowry, 23 to Jaime Jaquez, and then 12 to Duncan Robinson. Those are the only guys that are in double digits. Who's standing out to you? Guy that I have the most is Kyle Lowry, and I hate it.
Yeah, I'm getting the most Duncan Robinson, and I guess I could take some encouragement from the fact that he did juke out Wemby on one clip that I've seen on Instagram far too many times. So he's got that going for him. I don't believe in Duncan Robinson that much, but the minutes will be there again with no hero. Projected for 32.8 today by Stokastic. So that's why I'm getting there. Again, dual position eligibility would be nice too, but then I'd probably be getting even more. But he's actually the guy, it looks like, on the Heat that I'm the most exposed relative to the field, where Robinson projected to be 12% owned. I'm looking at about 32 right now, which I'm not going to walk back because there's football tonight.
That's more than I have. I got 22, so I'm over as well. But I'm also over on Haywood Highsmith. I got 13. He's projected for 5. Although I do hope that goes wrong. I have Haywood Highsmith under on Prize Picks for today, so hope that one fails, even though I have it. Well, I hope if he goes over, I hope it's in one of the lineups that I have and it's good. And then I have 28% of Jaime Jaquez as well. So I'm getting to a lot of pieces here. Scattered amounts of Josh Richardson, scattered amounts of Kevin Love, tiny amount of Caleb Martin, who I don't think is going to play nearly enough to matter today. But $4,100 shooting guard small forward, it makes you think about it.
Yeah, all those guys I'm with you on. Jaquez, I also am getting a lot of about 39% of him right now, projected to be at 23% ownership. So the rookie guys who've shown one good game recently, I'm going to be very big on today. And I don't mind. I feel like for this kind of slate, I'm willing to take the flyer on guys that Jaquez has some fun things to his game that we've seen in college. And I think he finally started to show it a little bit that last time. I think it was this week. And then for, Podziemski we're going to talk about a little bit later. That's another guy that I'll be pretty heavy on at the same price point.
Oh, I'm excited to shit all over that. That'll be a good time. Although when I type in Golden State in my sheet and I find out that I'm like 5x the field, I'll be able to just shut up and change my mind. I can have any opinion I want. Whatever shows up, I'm going to say it like it's important.
It's all you could ever do.
What else should we talk? Like I do find it interesting that Highsmith is 5% owned and Jaquez is 23. Like Jaquez has been around a 10th of a fantasy point per minute better than him, but with Caleb Martin back, we don't really have a great idea of how that rotation is going to play out. Is Jaquez going to be ahead of Highsmith? Are they both going to be ahead of Martin? So I do think that it's at least a little bit interesting to see Highsmith be that low and Jaime Jaquez be at 23. It's sort of the same situation that we were just talking about for Brooklyn, where I'm happy to get a little bit more Highsmith there on a 2-game slate. I think there's just too much variance in playing time for these guys to have such a disparity in ownership. It also helps that Jaquez has the MPE.
Yeah, and I think with Jaquez too, the thing that I know is bumping him up in my projections, which I basically merge my projections with Stokastic to run the sims that I do, but I still always build NBA projections because it's actually pretty easy to do, and I've always liked mine. But Jaquez gets a few more assists, so that's basically why I'm getting him a little bit more, because he's actually involved and does share the ball a bit, whereas Highsmith, 8% assist rate this year, has not been a guy in the past that's shown a lot more. So I think that's the difference point for me, is that Jaquez contributes in every category, where Highsmith contributes slightly less in every category. I think that's the main thing, but yeah, you can make the case again. Same thing we talked about the last game, where you could certainly go to the other guys that are a little bit less owned. If you want to go to the Dorian Finney-Smiths, I would think in this case too, Jaquez is the projection play, Highsmith more of a tournament play.
You getting to any of these other guys, the unowned dudes, Highsmith in particular, Caleb Martin, Josh Richardson, Kevin Love?
Getting some Kevin Love, about 12%. So I guess I'd be double the field there. Half the field on Caleb Martin, it looks like. So he did not work well with my sim construction. And Highsmith, let me double check to make sure that I have this correctly. Highsmith did not enter the lineups for me at all, which granted, I don't have him projected that well. I actually have him lower than Stokastic. I have him lower by like about 4 points. So I think that's why meeting in the middle then with the average, he's still not coming in.
Yeah, I got him at 17.7. I have a relatively pessimistic projection, I think, in comparison to everybody else, but still getting that 13%.
I got him at 14.7, so I'm the most pessimistic.
How many minutes?
for the 25 minutes that he's getting from
Okay.
Stokastic.
I have one more minute that I have Highsmith at 26, so that helps to, add another. Well, I have him at 0.68 fantasy points per minute for this game. So that gives him an extra 0.68.
And I've got him 0.67 for this game.
Okay. Okay. So we're on it. We're on it then. Anything else we should be touching on from Miami?
No, I mean, I think the Hawkes thing is the biggest take for me. I'm not getting a lot of Jimmy. I don't feel comfortable about that just because we know what Jimmy can do and soaking up all the usage, soaking up all the assists, all the rebounds too, if he really wants to. So I feel like if you're playing Butler, you're kind of making a bet. It's a lot of these guys. Like I mentioned, for my projections, I'm pulling in a few more assists for Hawkes because Tyler Hero's not in. If they all just go to Butler or they all go to Kyle Lowry, let's say, I think that would upset the entire Miami ecosystem's projections. So for a tournament, if you were filtering through the Sims, let's say, maybe make a few lineups or grab a few lineups that say, no Hawkes, no, for me, no Duncan Robinson, no Bam, but you do take Butler or Kyle Lowry. And I think it's one way to consolidate stuff a little bit more because these guys are coming in pretty easily for me with what I ran.
All righty, folks. We're up at around 1,000 people for right now, and just north. Why does my stupid watch just keeps talking to me? The series dumb, straight dumb, completely dumb. Sign up for Vivid Picks. How's that? I had a transition there. It's long gone. 100 plus likes. Hit the like button. That's what Vivid Picks wants you to do. Here's the deal. This is as simple as it gets. You guys should be trying to grab as much free cash as you can. And right now, if you deposit up to $300, they will match whatever that deposit is. So if you can round up $300, get in the couch cushions, borrow that from somebody if you need to, you make that deposit, they're going to match it. You'll never find a better situation than depositing 300 and getting another 300. It's the easiest way to start up a bankroll. If you're playing pick'em sites like Prize Picks or Underdog, it's going to be a similar experience. Why not start off with a giant chunk of cash? Not to mention, you also get a $25 secure play, which means if your first play loses, you get up to $25 back in site credit. So you can take a $25 shot on your first one with essentially zero risk. Between the deposit bonus and that secure play, if you have the ability to sign up at Vivid Picks and you don't do it, I'm going to assume that you don't like having money in life. So do this. Click the link in the description, sign up at Vivid Picks, go get yourself $300 on that first deposit. Are you ready for this one? Oklahoma City, Golden State, OKC at full strength, Golden State slightly less so. No Steph Curry, out with a tender knee, and no Draymond Green, out because he's a crazy person, out for the next 5 games. Thunder are 2.5-point favorites in Golden State, 226 total. We're getting pretty balanced ownership for the Thunder. 20 to Chet, 30 to Jalen Williams, 26 to Josh Giddey, and 28 to Shea. I am well over the field on Shea. I've got 44%. I think he's pretty clearly the best play on today's slate from a ceiling perspective. On a 2-game slate, raw points matter a lot, and nobody has a better projection than Shea. I'm also quite a bit over on Jalen Williams. We have seen his ownership climb a little bit since this morning, but I love that dude, $6,100 power forward. They are both in about 40% of my lineups. They are my 2 most exposed Oklahoma City Thunder players. Where are you going today for the Thunder?
So I'm getting a lot of Shea. I think the way you said that was beautifully stated. Basically, the projection is too high. I'm a little bit baffled to see the only guy on the slate projected for over 50 fantasy points, getting 27.7% ownership from Stokastic right now. I'm also at the exact 44% that Josh mentioned. I don't know why it worked out like that. Great minds think alike, great minds sim alike. But I think for Shea, I really have no issue getting to him tonight. You can make the case, I think, to even go a little bit higher than that, go a flat double the field, just because of the fact that people are seemingly underplaying him. That said, I do wonder if people catch up on that. Maybe the ownership, projection is a little bit off. Obviously, you have to do a little bit of bending over backwards to get Shea into your lineups. But I think that people may do that a little bit more than the 27% being projected. But that said, he's still the best play on the slate, and the guy, he's probably the only guy on the slate that could put up 60 right now and is their current form as a player that's not from a couple of years ago. So for me, Shea, I feel really strongly about, and everybody else on the Thunder a bit less so.
Yeah, if he does anything over his median projection, it's going to be really hard for him to not be in a winning lineup. And that to me is pretty appealing when they have no Draymond on the opposite side, who, no matter what you want to say about him, is very clearly the anchor and key piece of whatever Warriors good defense can exist. It unquestionably got a lot easier for Shea with having no Draymond out there to run a defense for 28, 30 minutes. So I think he stands out. And 10-6 is really not that troublesome of a price point either. Not for today, at least.
Yeah, and I would say too that, if this game does get out of hand with Golden State obviously being down Steph, being down Draymond, the Vegas total doesn't say that, but if you were to kind of have that that kind of build you're trying to play because it is a short slate, you can maybe get more creative with that kind of thing. Shea is going to be the one leading the blowout, and if he's not, you should probably be playing a lot of these other Thunder players because they're the ones that could get there in a meaningful way if he's not getting there. But I think Shea is probably like the fulcrum point of the entire slate because if he goes off, he's going to break it for everybody who didn't have him. If he doesn't go off, it's like then something else happened for the Thunder to not keep it from going off, or maybe just the Warriors didn't show up, and that's how the game went.
And like, if you don't have Shea, you can pretty much put together whatever lineup you're looking for. Like there's nobody else above 10K. You're not going to have any trouble building it out. There's so much value on Golden State that you are walking yourself into whatever lineup construction you want if you're not going to the 10-6 Shea. What are you doing with everybody else? I'm pretty well neutral on Chet. He's in center only, which sucks, but 7,500. I'm pretty well under on Josh Giddey, who's getting some love. But I don't really have much of a stand on anybody else.
Yeah, I'm a little bit under on Chet Holmgren. I don't necessarily love that, but he's a little bit better projected for Stokastic than he is for me, and Stokastic still only has him at 35.2. So, not the strongest projection play, definitely not a value by the traditional sense of that 5x metric. That doesn't always matter, but does kind of matter as a baseline. Giddey as well, I'm very light on. Just I feel like these guys have kind of regressed a little bit into the backfield or to the in the background for me with how this build went today. Yeah, getting half as much of the field as Giddey. I love Giddey. Like Giddey's the guy, like I would like my son to grow up to be Giddey, minus being Australian, like just being an everyman ball player. I went to a Lakers game before I moved from LA, was courtside, was yelling for Josh Giddey like he was my child and was cheering for him. And I'm sure he was confused. So what was going on? Because this was his rookie year. Yeah.
If I were you, I would want your child to aspire to be significantly better than Josh Giddey. You're picking the wrong Thunder player.
Well, yeah, I would like him to be Shea. I don't think my son's going to have the bag that Shea has in terms of all the moves and the ability and all that. So if he can't get there, at least be like 6'7" and hustle and dribble fairly well. And I think you'll maybe get to where you need to go. So I like Giddey, but it's just, I feel like today, not popping up the projections, but the Thunder overall, just a little bit underowned as a team, especially given that like they could put up a lot of points against Golden State. And if Golden State somehow hangs in, like this could be like a shootouty kind of game.
Ryan Skeggs says being an Aussie is his best quality. What are your thoughts on Australians, Spags?
Well, I mean, I love their beers. I love their ability to compare knives to spoons, as Paul Hogan once did in Crocodile Hunter. I think that kangaroos are pretty cool. Luca, that was the first animal that my son learned was a kangaroo. It goes hop, 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 and he would say hop, hop, hop. So enjoyed that. And again, Josh Giddey has great floppy hair. So I think that he does have more going for it. And that was an unfair comment.
Only thing I really like about Australia is the fact that that's how you get to the island. You got to fly from LAX to Australia and then end up on a magic island. So that's pretty cool that's part of the portal.
Well, great beaches too. And I think the accent is pretty cool. And it is like a thing where it actually is kind of cool that they're like a convict island. Like that's like pretty badass.
Yeah. The accent is funny. Shane Gillis's bit about it in his new special is very funny. Funny to think about Australian accents being said in like really difficult situations.
Because it goes up at the end, doesn't it?
Well, he not that I want to step on the bit, but he references like what if there was an Australian guy in your office during 9/11 and like him just like detailing out what's happening with the plane. It's true. Like to hear it in that accent is just funnier.
It's a good bit. I've not been the biggest Shane Gillis fan. Once you get canceled from SNL, you're out of my life. But I just like I feel like I missed something with like the Matt and Shane stuff, and I just never got in. And once you like, I don't know if you feel this way. Like once you miss the initial wave of something, I'm just like, it's too late. Like I've can't get in.
I like him too much because he's basically just me doing this. I don't mean like he's obviously way more talented than me, but he's from an hour from where I grew up. He's 2 years younger than me. Like he went to another shitty state school in Pennsylvania, same situation. So it's very relatable to me. He feels like 100 people that I know.
Don't sell yourself short. He could never do the process. Not in a million fucking years.
He can do a much more entertaining version of it, I'm sure.
But do you think he knows Excel? You think he's really getting deep into the pivot tables?
I mean, he's not dumb, but I doubt he knows Excel.
Yeah,
he's more of a history buff. I don't think he'd do well in Excel. But he would also get more people to tune in and watch him at 6:30 in the morning, I think.
That is fair. But that's unfair to compare yourself on that level.
Yeah, I know. But it's what we aspire to do, right? I don't think Netflix is going to give me a special to break down basketball games in Excel sheets.
I know they're getting into sports now.
Yeah, that might not create enough revenue for old Netflix.
Do you know what they're doing now for sports? They're doing like NASCAR drivers pair up with golfers to do like a golf tournament. It's like nobody's going to watch that. I think you're probably right there in the viewership, but whatever that's going to get.
I can't imagine wanting to watch a NASCAR driver do anything,
including
their profession.
Yeah.
Is there a more like I don't even understand how that is a thing that people will watch on television. Can you imagine just explain that to someone? Here's what's going to happen. We're going to watch these guys drive around in a circle for the next 4 hours. It's like, what's the interesting part? Hopefully they get in an aggressive car accident.
I think it's more that they go so fast at a level that man wasn't meant to go. I mean, I did the NASCAR DFS thing when there was that period during COVID where nothing was going on. It's like, MMA, sure, that went better than NASCAR did. But like I made a NASCAR data sheet. I wouldn't say I enjoyed it. I actually kind of enjoyed watching League of Legends players more. Like I thought that was actually kind of fun. But NASCAR, it's a thing. It's hot in there, man. It's an athletic thing.
I'm not diminishing their ability to just sit in the car and pee themselves for 4 hours. I agree. That is a thing that they can do. It's wild to me that it even exists. You mentioned the speed. The problem is you don't have a frame of reference for that. You don't really know what their speed is. When everybody's just traveling at the same rate of speed, it just looks like you're watching traffic.
Yeah, but they're moving around. It's kind of, I mean, I know you love soccer. I feel like there's a little bit of minutia and like, oh, the positioning, and this guy's got the inside track, and then now this guy has to bide back for a little, and then the teammates work together and block guys out. So I don't know. I feel like I can appreciate any sport if like I really go like, you gotta love this, man. Like you really got to get into it. And I think for NASCAR, I'm capable of it. I can get there.
You have no idea how difficult and competitive NASCAR is. That's not what I'm saying. I think that it is difficult and very competitive. I just don't know why anyone would care.
Hey, look, I think that whatever makes you joy or brings you joy out there, more power to it. And I love that they're a lot less racist than when we were kids. So kudos to NASCAR. You've done that well.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, 20 laps. That's all we need.
20 laps, call it a day.
So it's like the baseball season. Do we really need 160? Do we really need 162 baseball games? No, shorten everything.
I agree with that.
Like the Daytona 500. We really need 500 laps or miles or whatever it is. 500 miles. Insane. King says, wait until NASCAR is electric. Would they simulate the sound of the cars? Just like, they're just playing it over like the PA system. Vroom, vroom.
Don't they still, electric cars still vroom? I don't have an electric, so I don't know, but
they hum more than vroom.
Maybe you have like a baseball card there and suddenly make the noise you want.
What's the fastest you've ever driven? I don't know. However fast my Cavalier went in 1999 or whatever year I got it.
Yeah, I was stopping 100 on my cross country drive. The strip in Vegas from LA or LA to Vegas, either way you're going, where it's just straight shot. Like you could do a good 120 there and not feel that bad about it, but that's about as much as I could do.
Yeah. By the time that I got a car that like wasn't a 99 Chevy Cavalier, I realized that I didn't have any need to go 100 miles an hour on open road. I only did that because I was dumb and a child.
I don't think it feels better. Like, it's not like, whoa, this is so cool. It's just like, God, I could die and it feels exactly the same as driving 70. Like, it's not adding a whole lot of value there.
No. I love to NASCAR and chill with my cousin. Sports Wiz. I don't even know where we're going with that. All right. Well, you got anything else for Oklahoma City? I think I killed enough time.
I mean,
yeah, we got plenty to talk about. I got 10% Isaiah Joe. I don't want that.
I got 3% Isaiah Joe, so I'm okay with that. Getting a little more Kenrich. Kenrich actually was in my highest ROI lineup, so I don't know. I guess that's a little bit of a Kenrich flag for me. Getting back in the rotation, he's a guy that contributed in every category. Maybe against Golden State, especially, feels like he contributed in a bunch of different ways. So Kenrich would be the one guy I'm not planning a flag for because I have 7%, but I thought it was interesting that he was in the highest ROI one. And a little bit Dort, but yeah, Jalen Williams, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, I got a tiny bit of Dort. I mean, I guess double a field, 13% at 7, so I can handle that. I don't have anybody. I got one case in Wallace share. No Jalen Williams with the Y, no Misic, or however you say his particular name. I don't know. Mikic. Don't have him. It's all Shea and Jalen Williams for me. Jalen Williams without the Y.
Yeah, Shea is the biggest stand to make here, I think, and that's a pretty good stand. But, Holmgren, the upside's there, and he's not going to be too highly owned. So if you're going to chase Chet tonight, projected to be about 20% owned. So you can do whatever you want with that one and get above the field if you want.
Anything else you want to touch on for OKC?
No, I think they're an interesting team to go to just because they're the one team that really doesn't have a lot of ownership going to a variety of guys. It's all reasonable, seems like, for these guys, and still a very lofty total for them. So we'll see how that works out. Worked out yesterday for Dallas. Dallas didn't get there for Luka, but everybody else on Dallas got there, which helped out the people who won. So maybe the same thing for OKC, where Shea doesn't get there and the other guys do. But, obviously that doesn't happen every night.
Schedule for the rest of the night. Very easy. 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. Coming up in about 15 minutes. NBA Live Before Lock will take you all the way to 7:30 for tip-off of the Brooklyn Nets and Miami Heat. And then right after that, 7:30, NFL Live Before Lock. You got what, Ravens, Bengals tonight?
Yep, that is it. Great Adam Scherer in attendance, going to be called onto the field at any point, I have to assume. So that'll be great fun as well to see that live on TV, to watch him die in front of our eyes on one hit. But no, I think that'll be a fun game, and I would play with Mark Andrews in that one personally, but that's me.
Did you happen to see the strategy show this morning with Adam and I?
I watched most of it. I was still doing work and stuff and getting ready to do splash play, so I wasn't paying full attention. But yeah,
we talked a little bit about how football needs to have someone kick an opening extra point, like a first pitch for baseball.
Yeah, I would love it if it were him. I think that's a lot of fun. Though he threw a first pitch once, right, at an Orioles game?
Threw out the first pitch for the Orioles a couple of years ago.
Which went okay, right? Like he didn't.
Yeah, it was fine.
Yeah,
it was good.
Yeah, so I think I would be curious to see him tackle them all. The best thing that happened yesterday was it was one of my favorite chats that I've seen in a while in the chat. Was somebody said that he looked like John Wick villain's son with his big chain and the new fresh cut. And I had a great show with Adam. I love doing shows with Adam. I never, even when I was full time at Stokastic, never got to do enough one-on-one shows with him. And always enjoyed doing shows with him. And that one flew by and was a lot of fun. But that was the highlight of my day yesterday.
Are you trying to say that Adam is Reek?
Yeah, he could be.
Because that's the villain was Theon Greyjoy in one of the movies.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. But yes, yeah. Theon Greyjoy, a good actor who's gotten nothing since, huh?
No, well, that's what happens when you become Reek. You kind of get a little typecast to be a broken man without a member.
Yeah, that's tough. Tough to lose your dong in any form of entertainment.
Yeah, he had a rough go of it. Wasn't a good time to be held captive by I can't remember, Ramsey Bolton.
Yes, Ramsey Bolton. What a bastard that guy was.
Literally.
Yeah, battles of him.
Yeah, I hated that episode with raging passion, and it's not at all met like that critically.
I didn't like Ramsey at all because it just made me uncomfortable, everything he was doing, which is just a little bit too much. Like all the flaying, the sexual assault to Sansa. It's just like, man, just take a chill pill. Why don't you go hang out with Smokey the Bear and fucking have a good time, man?
I couldn't, obviously we're wrestling fans. I couldn't suspend the disbelief enough. Jon Snow could just climb out of 200 dudes that are all on top. He didn't catch any light nick of a knife where he would immediately get infected and lose his arm. He would have died pretty quickly there.
He's got plot armor. That's all you need.
And then Ramsey just shooting his brother from 100 yards out, airmail dart, just arrow. Just turn around, man. Just take a step to your right. Once you're already out there, just how are you going to get hit in the back, man? Just pay attention. Run backwards.
So this is totally unrelated, but it is another episode. Are you still watching Rick and Morty now that they've changed over everything?
Yes, but I have not seen the two most recent episodes, and I know that I need to.
Yeah, so the most recent one it's a PSA from me out there. Actually, like I immediately texted my friends, like, you guys need to actually watch this if you haven't been watching. This episode that they just did was like a payoff of a lot of things for a lot of years they've been doing, and it was like out of the blue in a way. Succession fans, similar thing to that if you're familiar with both. But really highest recommendation, like that was
Okay.
that
I would
blew my
never
mind.
miss it.
Yeah.
I would never miss it, but just like the way life was going the past 2 weeks, I have not
Yeah.
sat down and caught up. So
Yeah, they're getting there. I'm glad to see it good again. Like I feel like I was a little concerned with it, so I'm glad that the show is like actually entertaining.
all right, Golden State Warriors. A little different. No Steph, no Draymond. 88% ownership coming into Chris Paul. I fully agree with it. I have it too. 67% coming into Dario Saric. Totally agree with it. I have it too. 63% coming into Clay. I agree with it. I have it too. Then you're getting 38% to Kevon Looney, 41 to Wiggins, 21 to Gary Payton, 22 to Kuminga, 28 to Podziemski, who I now have 42% of, and I don't agree with it in any way, shape, or form. I don't trust his minutes.
Well,
let's start with the top of the spear here. Chris Paul, Klay Thompson, Dario Saric. Any disagreements with that ownership?
No, I'm actually exactly with you on all that stuff. I have 89% Chris Paul right now, 67% Dario Saric. I am under on Clay, which I think is okay by me because I am insanely over on Podziemski. I am crazy over, but I don't think I agree with you that it's a risky play. Steve Kerr gave some nice sound bites about him, so we can save this conversation. I think Chris Paul's the obvious play. The one thing that jumps out to me is like he's not really shooting the ball more, doing anything different this year. Obviously, it's a small sample size, under 100 minutes with court time without Draymond, court time without Steph Curry. That said, we kind of know what he's been in the past, so I'm assuming he'll be more like that. So I gave him, I guess you have your rates. What did you give him in terms of usage and assist rate?
19% usage, 37% assist rate.
Okay, I gave him 20 and 37, so basically the same page.
Yeah.
And that's enough to get him in everywhere and to be, like which I think is the right move. But he has been a little more differential this year overall across everything, clearly strategically, I think he's a politician, I think at this point. But he is the play of the slate. I think he's one that I would have a hard time fading. That said, we know these slates go. If he's the one guy you fade, you're probably chopping away from a lot of the field, but basketball is an NFL, and I have to always remind myself that and just play the guy that's got the projection that's going to fit a lot of lineups. And he comes up everywhere sim wise.
Are you getting to Wiggins? Because he has had a pretty terrible season.
No, so like what I did was basically, this might be incorrect, but I did ramp up my projections a little bit more to favor this season. So what I do is like 6x the amount of games this year and then balance it with last year. And, still getting some of good Wiggins. Like I'm getting him at about half the field. So I'm going to be under on him. Feels like a risky play to be that under on him, but I'm a Podziemski man. So I guess that's why.
So I got to 15% or 50% of Wiggins. I'm over on Wiggins, Podziemski, Chris Paul neutral, but at 88%. I mean, there's only so many places you can go. Basically neutral on Saric, basically neutral on Clay, a little bit over on Looney. But I essentially don't have Gary Payton. I'm a little bit under on Kuminga. I'm just locked and loaded on Golden State. There's the amount of minutes and usage and everything that is just freed up by Steph and Draymond not being around here. DraftKings has been pretty good about changing their prices. These guys are all still such incredible point per dollar plays. It's very hard to get away from them on a 2-game slate.
Yeah, and it's not like the Thunder's D is anything to write home about either. So I think that also kind of helps the situation too. But yeah, to me, Golden State is the team to have the most of. Obviously, the ownership is saying the same thing, but I'm at least with the field on all these guys. And then again, I'm gonna be about 3x the field on Podziemski just because he's been at a fantasy point per minute this year. And Steve Kerr gave nice quotes saying that he's played his way onto the court. Hard to argue it. You look at his rates from college; he was a good true shooter in college, 60% there. I think he's a strong player. He also rebounds like a demon, which I think will add some value for the minutes he's there. But if you want to, I heard the conversation with you and Adam for the most part, obviously, again, tuning in and out. If you want to reiterate some of the stuff you guys talked about, because I thought that was the interesting point that spooks me is that he might fundamentally just be the backup to Clay. And if that's the case, the minute ceiling is probably a bit capped.
Yeah, that's the way that I'm seeing it right now. Could he go out there and play 22, 24 minutes? Yeah, I'm not surprised if that happens, but I don't think that we should have any confidence in the way that Steve Kerr is going to run his rotation. Whether it's Moses Moody getting these minutes, Kuminga getting these minutes, Gary Payton getting these minutes, Podziemski getting these minutes. The reason we saw him play so much is because Klay Thompson got tossed in a minute, and that freed up that spot. Right at assuming he doesn't start, I have a hard time picking one of these guys off the bench, Podziemski in particular, to get like 20 plus minutes. They're losing Draymond. Like, that's the guy that's being removed. Like, Curry was out. Podziemski was not playing 39 minutes, or I don't think he was playing 20 minutes if Clay and Draymond don't get the boot from that game. Now, everything went perfect for him, but as I see it, I only went 18 minutes. It's not stopping me from getting him, but I think there is a lot of downside risk if they just go to Corey Joseph potentially for a rotation. Maybe they want a little bit more size out there and go to Kuminga. Moses Moody is completely popular. Like, it's completely reasonable for him to just play a couple extra minutes instead of Podziemski. So I'm nervous about him getting as much love because I don't totally trust how much playing time the guys on the bench for the Warriors are going to get today. I think there's just way too much variance in it. But all of these guys are getting like 21% ownership to Peyton, 22 to Kuminga, 28 to Podziemski. Why is it 4 to Moses Moody? Like, I'm not saying Moses Moody is a good play, but he could just as easily play 20 minutes. He's a terrible per minute dude. He's like 0.8, but he's right there to just soak up additional playing time. A guy that has been fully in the rotation playing 17 minutes a night from start to finish. So I don't think he's going anywhere. Why would we expect him to play less now? That's weird.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think the logic might just be that Podziemski being the younger guy, and we've kind of, I mean, we don't know what Moody is yet because obviously he's also young and is, what is only his second year. So that's stuff where I think that might be a little bit overrated. But Podziemski to me, and again, you can watch the highlight reel on YouTube too, because I actually watched the full thing just to be like, is this right? Because I was looking at my data and like, I don't know why this guy's popping up so much. And he really did go nuts in that game, was bringing the ball across court, was like actually doing things that a point guard could do, as well as an aggressive kind of 2-guard could do. And he hit some insane shots in that game that he will absolutely not hit in this one. But I do think he's a pretty solid player. And if I were Steve Kerr, ride the hot hand a little, kick the tires. He did say as much, but the coach speak index, if we had that for the NBA, would not be the best for Steve Kerr. So I think that's something where I'm going to take him at face value because he projects incredibly well for me. But if you put him at 23 fantasy points, you're going to get him a lot in the Sims. If you put him at anything less, you're probably going to get less, and you might be the right person.
I got 21. I got him projected for 21.3, and he's still showing up in 42% of my stuff. So, I'm always going to rely on the data, but the way that I look at it, I'm incredibly uncomfortable about his exposure and not really about anybody else's.
I think it's reasonable. And, I think the best point that you made, or it was either you or Adam this morning, talking about
me if it was a good point.
Yeah, it must have been. Yeah, Kuminga not getting the minutes in that game. Like, if there were a game where they're going to treat him like he's more of a swing man, and now they're basically just treating him like kind of like a 4. I don't think that's the best way to use Kuminga, but that's how they're using him. And obviously, Steve Kerr may know a little bit more than me. I'll give him that. But I think that was something that gave me a little bit more confidence in Podziemski too. But we'll see. If he comes out there, commits some fouls, plays a little bit too aggressive, misses some bad shots, like, you can get the hook. But I'll play the good side of it just because I was impressed, and he seems like one of those mythical kind of beasts that I like to ride along with from time to time.
There we go. Anything else you want to touch on for the Warriors? We are through an hour. We got NBA Live Before Lock coming up next.
No, I feel like some guys here that maybe, I don't know. Do you think Trace Jackson Davis gets any more minutes out of the lack of Draymond?
I gave him 12. Is he playable? Yeah, but not at any sort of volume. You get 1 or 2% of him, upwards of 5. I think you could feel okay about that on a 2-gamer.
Yeah, because his rates aren't bad either. He's been at about a fantasy point per minute so far this year, but Stokastic has him for about 9.6 minutes. So you're really squinting your eyes to try to get him into a lineup. But he is somebody that it feels like, an aggressive rebounder can always give you a lot of points fantasy-wise. So I don't want to write him out, but I didn't get him sim-wise, so it kind of felt like a blind spot. But I think that covers it. Like, I'm with the field on everybody on Golden State for the most part, besides Klay Thompson. But it's okay for me because I'm getting ass loads of Podziemski, and that's the hill I will die on today. And then I'll focus on NFL. Well, I guess NFL will already be going on, so I'll be focused there.
There you go. NBA Live Before Lock coming up next. Spags, it was nice to talk some basketball with you. I like being on my corner and not your football corner.
No, I had to chase you over here, Josh. Now not on the first look. Hopefully I'll be back this week doing that one on Sunday. I mean, I know I'll be back this week doing it, but not with Josh, because Josh has now been freed from the chains of NFL. But I'm glad to do the show with you. It is fun, and this was a leisurely 2-game slate. So hit the like button, guys. We appreciate you being here, and we did our best to make this an entertaining hour of content.
We always do. We always do. Stick around, guys. Stay on this stream. Don't go anywhere. NBA Live Before Lock coming up next. Thanks, everybody.
We are back for another edition, a huge edition of the Stokastic Hall of Fame, coming at you hot, fresh off $1 million winner for one of our subs. And man, that is awesome. All you got to do to get involved. Now, he might not need a free sub anytime soon, but you want to get a free sub, $200 value, whether it's NBA, Sims package, everything, NFL, everything, up to $200 for the month. All you got to do, and to get inducted right here in the Stokastic Hall of Fame every single week, download the Stokastic profile picture at stokastic.com/avatar and tweet your wins to us at Stokastic HOF. You finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more, you got a free month. Any Stokastic package you want, up to $200. And of course, induction right here in the Hall of Fame. Let's get started. First up, Short Gamer TV. Wow. Or what a Sunday. Wow. Shout out to the Stokastic team and the Sims. Couldn't have done it without them. 1 million. Short Gamer TV took down the Millie yesterday. Obviously a very sharp dude, but utilizing the Stokastic tools, the Sims, all of it comes full circle. It's a beautiful thing. Shout out to Short Gamer TV. That has to be the greatest feeling in the world. $1 million win to kick off the week. Peter Hanley's back on the board. What's up, Peter? Got to get that free month and get to play a lot of NFL tomorrow. $13,000. Look at that three-way chop in the NBA Showdown fadeaway, followed by Maxwell Miller. Got second in the 65K NFL spike on FanDuel yesterday. Thanks to all of you for helping me become a better DFS player. $3,000 win, second place for Maxwell. And Michael Yamada, multiple mini-mag. I love seeing these because remember, doesn't matter if you're entering 25-cent, 5-cent contest, doesn't matter what you win. As long as you finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more, no matter the contest, you're in. Free month and up here. Minimax takedowns on DraftKings and a three-way chop for first on Owner's Box. We've been seeing a lot of Owner's Box wins pop up lately. Thankful for the NBA Sims tool as well as the amazing content. Shout out to Michael for 4 takedowns there. Braden, think I'm finally figuring out how to get the word out, Stokastic. Finished second in the Minimax last Sunday at Owner's Box. Again, the tools, especially the Sims, are making a big difference for me this year. Congrats, Braden. And Michael Phillips, Stinger 22. $3,000 win. Sims tool already paying dividends. You love to see it. How about Kevin Cutler? Biggest win so far for me. Thanks to Stokastic and the usual suspects. Haven't even started working with the Sims yet either. Watch out. Let's see that name in lights again. $5,000 for Kevin Cutler yesterday. We keep going. Big ones this week. Brett Shoup, little late posting this one. Another hit due to the awesome Live Before Lock videos. The data is real, my friends. $5K for Brett as well. And Mike Marks, Stokastic Hall of Fame, 3 fire emojis, $250. Second place in the 5K Mini Max with Sean Geezy following up 2 in a row. Second out of 36K entries in the 15K Mini. Shout out to the crew as always. And then he had another one. He's up here a lot. Sean's up here a lot. Another Mini Max win. Shout out to Stokastic crew for the best tools in the game. $500 takedown there. We go to AJJ or AJ245, one or the other. Just shouting out the guys at Stokastic again. Best tools and best knowledge in the game. It's helped me become a better DFS player. $300 second in the 7.5K Mini Max for AJ. With Johnsy, how about this? Took down the Warriors versus Nuggets showdown, $15 Slate. Thank you, Stokastic, for the tips. First place out of 11,700 entries. Some chops there, but we're throwing it up anyway because that's a nice $1,700 win. And we round this one out with Trappist Monk. Thanks to Stokastic for the great show on Saturday featuring the sharp NHL minds of Slim Cliffy and Josh. Their insight and advice helped me build some nice lineups, one of which took down the 2K quarter jukebox. Appreciate all of you guys putting these in, and congrats to everybody. You've now been inducted in the Hall of Fame. Welcome back if you've been here before. Go collect those free subs. Download the avatar if you don't have it. Use it wherever it is you play. We'll see you back here next week with some more winners.
Is there going to be 5 on the hand? I haven't seen 5 on the hand. Oh. Be
Look
gentle.
at that. But it feels so good.
All right, Stokastic, here we go. It's your old pal EMac coming to you. A little Team Eric reunion here. I wasn't supposed to be here today, but one of my second co-hosts ended up getting the Rona. I believe that Matty Bellman tempted fate, said he wasn't feeling well, and it does in fact have the Rona, according to our HR team who has me here. So that means, am I patient zero, Eric? Because that is now Neil and Bellman have done shows with me. And then I thought the pandemic was over. What's going on here? It's not, doesn't exist in Florida. It never did.
Yeah, no, nor did it in South Dakota once upon a time. But yeah, hopefully our guy Bellman feels a little bit better here. I really hope you're not saying that. I mean, I was just on the subway in New York and went out to New Jersey and saw Greg, and it was in taxis and Ubers all weekend heading to premieres. It was a really rough life there for a couple of days, but was able to work alongside of it a little bit. Had some hiccups getting out of New Jersey. Everybody just wants to just keep planes grounded on Newark. And then it was storming, of course, when I drop into LA. We had some horrible turbulence, but you know what? All is well here. All is good. I got my buddy EMac. You kind of have like an Oz-like quality to you today. It's like I'm looking up at the Great Wizard of Oz.
It is, and I got my hair cut today. So actually, I ran this one other time, and it was better because I had more hair. But for Jordan, I had to get the high and tight because that's what he prefers.
What'd you do to your wrist?
The way I sit my hand on the keyboard at this desk, it pinches a nerve. So
keyboard. That's what we're calling it these days.
Laptop keyboard. No, this is the left hand. That'd be the stranger, right?
Oh, gotcha. That's not it. Upside down chill.
Only special occasions only.
And we're going to continue on.
All righty. Well, I'm sure our sponsor Vivid would love to hear about how much we enjoy their site these days. Couple cool things you can get with them. One, you get a $300 deposit match with your first deposit, and two, your first wager or pick, because it's a pick'em site, your first pick'em card insured up to $25. So you want to take a few chances there, go for a 5 for 5, be a little more thrifty, go for a 2 for 2, 3 for 3. It doesn't matter because your first card is $25 guaranteed if you lose. Not a bad deal. And the other thing you want to remember about the pick'em sites, it's good to be a member at several of them because they often are offering different free squares or lower discounted wager props, or like yardage maybe down a little bit, points maybe down a little bit, depending on the site. Sometimes they'll go as small as, half yard gained by so-and-so, half a point by so-and-so. If you play multiple, you can get in on those on different days of the weeks, but Vivid is the newest one coming to the table here, and they have that very nice offer, that $25 first card insured. So not too shabby. What do we have tonight, Eric? We have just 2 games. We have like almost an entire starting lineup worth of players out or suspended. This is opening some things up. It's consolidating a lot of interest on about 4 players, but from the jump here, no Cam Thomas. He is out, as is Ben Simmons. Steph Curry is out most likely through the weekend, dealing with the I believe sore ankle or sore knee. I can't remember which, but he is expected back. It shouldn't be too long. They're just kind of giving him some maintenance work. And then Draymond Green suspended for 5 games for giving Rudy Gobert a neck massage. Is that what I heard, Eric?
I have no idea what you just said. I was reading a message.
Draymond Green neck massage Rudy Gobert.
Oh yeah, no, it was more like he like Tom Aspinalled him. Not the last Tom Aspinall fight, but most of them where he just submits a dude, and it's like watching this huge bicep go directly around a dude's throat. But fortunately, Rudy Gobert, he just he did like the "it wasn't me" in the corner, wasn't me.
Shaggy, Mr. Bombastic, very fantastic. I know who Shaggy is.
Jordan Klein missed all of this too. That's the sad part.
This is what happens when you decide to take a mid-game sojourn or a mid-show sojourn away from the cans to the can. There you go.
Caught me red-handed. Same with the girl next. No, a little bit of that.
It was good. I had to do a little rendition of Mr. Boombastic. Caught Eric off guard there.
I didn't see that coming in a million years. I mean, you're a million years old, but like I didn't see that coming in a million years.
Wasn't me. So shall we get into, let's quickly cover Brooklyn and Miami, then we'll talk OKC and Golden State. There are some intriguing plays within each of these. We'll have some time to show some of the Stokastic tools here as well. I'll be building my lineups. I got all my hockey lineups in. It's a good day, Eric. Got to play multiple slates. Got my college basketball in. Got my college football in. All of these can be yours and doing multiple jobs at once if you have these Stokastic tools. I'm telling you, it is a major time saver. Looking at Brooklyn first here, we mentioned Cam Thomas, Ben Simmons are out. Mikal Bridges, he finally has his own team, but the results haven't quite been there. I was recommending his under of it. Last time I saw it was 32.5 PRA. He's only hit that mark in 4 of 11 games. Even his per 36 numbers don't get him there, and he plays almost 36 minutes a game. But he is someone who's interesting. You've got Nick Claxton back in the mix here. It looks like he and Daron Sharp are more or less splitting those center minutes. We've got Dorian Finney-Smith can occasionally play the center if they decide to go small. It will be interesting to see how they handle a very resurgent or realizing the full extent of his powers, Bam Adebayo. What do you got for us in this game?
Yeah, this is a tough one. When you talk about the ownership that's coming in on Golden State, I think it's very, very warranted, but you want to be careful. As I was working through the Sims tool, I mean, it's really just where can you find a piece here, a piece there that can be a difference maker from this game specifically. And it starts with the studs. I think just when you talk about raw fantasy points, SGA is going to be the highest owned guy that I get to in that upper tier, 10-6, but he's somebody that's projected nearly 5 fantasy points better than Bam Adebayo for me. And then Bam Adebayo, though, is at a center position, and you go through the center position, it's not nearly as intriguing as what it is on most of these larger slates. I mean, you can play Dario Saric and slide him over from forward to center if need be. Kevon Looney's there, but then Nicholas Claxton's a piece I'm a little bit uncomfortable with. Chet Holmgren, as good as he is from a fantasy point per minute rate, I do expect this to maybe be something where he can get 32, 34. I'm trying to take some smart shots depending on what else is in my lineup there, but it's not so much like I like anything from Brooklyn, Miami. It's trying to find ways to have some of those chalkier items rotated around some of these other plays. And that's where Bam Adebayo, I think, just jumps to the top for me. We're seeing that assist rate come up a little bit, even next to Kyle Lowry here this season. He's always had that element to his game, but I mean, we've now seen at least 4 assists in 3 straight. We've seen 10 assists back on that Lakers game where he had the ridiculous triple-double, but like, I feel like he's somebody at 9,200 because of what that ceiling is, and because SGA is a piece that I expect a lot of people to get as like a quote-unquote run back from that Golden State, Oklahoma City game. I really like getting to Bam Adebayo considering, he's popular, 47.2%, but he's nearly a 1.4 fantasy point per minute guy this season. You're getting a lot of pieces that are added to this rotation for Miami that kind of thin it out. Getting Caleb Martin back into the fray. Hawkes, don't know what to make of those minutes entirely. It seems like the field's pretty comfortable with it, but like, I think Bam Adebayo is just my favorite play to get to from this game, period. End of story. How about you?
So here was the interesting thing when I did the free DFS building blocks article. So that was, we were running on like the 11 a.m. projections. I looked at FanDuel. We're going to talk FanDuel for a second because I know people think they get the short shrift here. But the center position, I looked at the 3 important center-only players. Bam Adebayo was key because he was getting, at that point, about a 45 or so point projection. Chet Holmgren was a little bit lower, and then there was Nicholas Claxton. So I wanted to see what would happen running optimal lineups with each of those because, of course, we've got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who's sitting with the only player above 50 fantasy points. Bam, at that time, was the only player in the 40s. We now have Chris Paul and Jimmy Butler just slightly edging over there. But it was an interesting exercise. It seemed that it wasn't going to be a big deal between the 3 optimals, and I thought it was going to be Bam or bust at this point. I just ran it now for each of them, and the optimal Bam lineup without any restrictions here on Fantasy Cruncher here is 292 points. I'm going to round up. It's actually for Chet Holmgren, it ends up being 293 points. And then for Nick Claxton, it ends up being 290 points. This morning, I think they were separated by about 5. But that's sometimes what I like to do to see when you have a player who's so incredibly popular on a smaller slate, and they're one of the best raw point projections, what happens if you don't play them? right? And that's oftentimes we want to look at, say, at playing these guys because it's hard to make up those points elsewhere. It does not seem to be the case with Bam. And I thought for sure it would today, just with how the chips were falling.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good breakdown of what you're looking at there. I think for FanDuel, again, also cash your minus 10,000 tickets that I got locked out of FanDuel, considering I just tried to log back in quick and do the fantasy thing. I think I've probably
you a robot?
reset
Please hold down this button and then hold it down again.
I'm so over it. After being in New York and just being able to log on and do everything I wanted to right away there, it was beautiful. And now it's just like, hold please, as 15 minutes later I'm able to log into FanDuel to talk about everything I'm looking at there. But looking at our tools, I think that makes a lot of sense, just site to site. I mean, center 10K for Bam, that's exponentially different. I think with Dario Saric, he's power forward center. You can play one of those centers that isn't him. Chet Holmgren is 7,800. We know his blocks upside, his steal upside there that exists. I think that's still pretty intriguing and something that as I'm going to build out a lineup here now for that site, I think that's pretty intriguing. With Nicholas Claxton, 7,200, far more of a play if you're looking to play Nick Claxton over on the DraftKings slate. But Bam Adebayo 10K, yeah, probably wouldn't be getting to him a whole heck of a lot there, but sub 10K over at DraftKings, and not too hard to make that work if you're rotating around a lot of these value pieces that we have on this slate, because nothing feels all that comfortable to me from a value perspective. Outside of Dario Saric, and everybody's going to be playing him. Andrew Wiggins, 5,200, 5,100. I think that's fine in terms of value, but like, I'm taking a lot of shots on Gary Payton II, a lot of shots on Moses Moody, Kuminga. There are so many ways that this rotation works out. And I know Draymond Green's the missing piece, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't have a trickle-down effect to this rotation in general. And I think that's probably the under-talked about thing. I think Podziemski, because he had the good game and everybody saw what he did in 39 minutes, played an absolute metric ton and looked good. He probably carved himself out a decent amount of that rotation, but 4,600, there's a lot of uncertainty there. The amount of Gary Payton II I have right now, the amount of Kuminga, the amount of Moses Moody, and I even have like a share or two of Jackson Davis. And there's just a lot of ways with Draymond Green's absence, in addition to Curry now, where it's going to be, I'm just going to try to get to these thin plays down here, play SGA, play Bam, and hope I hit the right combination.
All righty. Circling back to that first game here, Cam Johnson he was out with a hamstring issue. He has come back. He's played 3 games. His minutes have trended up from 25 to 35, then 29 in the last one. You got to figure he's going to be good for around 30 or so minutes tonight. He's someone I think is on the short list. Spencer Dinwiddie had a boatload of minutes in the last game, got all the way up to 37. He dropped a 50 burger there. So that is not something we should expect with a lot of regularity, but it is always good to see. And then now we're back down to Mikal Bridges. So the interesting thing about him is the apex games are not really there. Like, good games for him are when he gets to 40 fantasy points. He kind of lives in the mid 30s. And that makes sense because he does a lot of things pretty well, but defense has always been his calling card. And it's a little different now that they're missing, as much as we want to say, Ben Simmons not being an offensive option, at least he facilitates rebounds, etc. It just kind of, it makes it interesting as this rotation has been thinned out and down to less skilled players or less talented players. I'm not getting to very much Mikal Bridges tonight. I see he's on almost a quarter of the lineups on DK, and he is projected to be on about half the lineups on FanDuel. How do you feel about him as kind of our last decision point here for the Brooklyn Nets?
Yeah, I think something that I've been doing a lot, just because this season it feels as though there have been so many different blowouts, trying to like adjust some of these minutes on teams that have had tons of blowouts. And Oklahoma City, 3 of their 11 been just decided by 20 plus points. This is also something that started to show up for Mikal Bridges because he played 39 minutes. And I know they get Lonnie Walker back. I know that they have Royce O'Neal and Dorian Finney-Smith and lots of wings that can fill different positions there. I mean, Trendon Watford can also be somebody that gets off the bench. He's played, anywhere from 5 to 27 minutes here. He can be a backup center type instead of a Day'Ron Sharpe if they want to give it a little different look. But I do think that a lot of the reasons the Mikal Bridges hasn't had those apex predator games is they had a game against Orlando. They won by 20. They didn't really need to push the gas on his minutes. Then you go to that Boston game. It was a wonky game. They ended up only losing by 14, but it was actually a wider margin than that. You saw him play all of 28 minutes there in that one with no foul trouble. So if these games stay a little bit closer, we don't have these ridiculous game scripts for Brooklyn. I do see Mikal Bridges playing like 36 minutes in a lot of situations here. You look at our projections, we've got him for 37 minutes. Like this is a spot where this can be another piece of differentiation for you. Small forward, power forward, 8K. I don't completely hate it. Again, this is a 2-game slate. We are looking at what the overall lineup looks like rather than just saying, oh, I'm over or I'm under these guys without much reference to the rest of your lineup. But Mikal Bridges, he's around a 1.1 fantasy point per minute guy. We saw last year the ceiling was there. We just need those minutes to get back up to the 37-minute range. And you could be sitting on the nuts here with a great opportunity to late swap into chalkier pieces later.
All right, let's look over here to the Miami side of things. Miami favored by 3 at home on this one. We got a good one here leading off with the super chat here that plays in nicely. So the loser wins again. Sports Talk says, thoughts on Caleb Martin and Gary Payton for cheap options in his single entry 3-max. So Caleb Martin is, of course, now available for Miami. He played in the first game of the season. I don't think he played in the second game. Nope. So he only played in the first game there, played 20 minutes. The things we want to remember are he was getting a lot of minutes in the playoffs. That was due to a few other players being out. Of course, Tyler Hero is out tonight, and I think RJ Hampton is the only other person who is out. But he has been Caleb Martin has been out for a couple of weeks now. I believe it was a knee issue that he was dealing with.
Yeah,
so
tendonitis.
Tendonitis. Okay, so knee tendiopathy, if we want to get all technical. Hat tip to Dean 7890210. You've got the question of what is his conditioning, and then you've got mad scientist Eric Spoelstra, who still has Haywood Highsmith, obviously Duncan Robinson. He's got Jamie Jaquez, who else? Drew Smith, who I think is probably the odd man out here. But and then you've got Kyle Lowry. If he doesn't foul out or get a boatload of fouls again, he's going to be around. How are you feeling about Caleb Martin?
Not good at all. This makes it very hard on this slate. And I've done a couple of things. So I'm obviously going to be using the Sims, and I have some ROI boost stuff that I'm working on here, but I went over to the lineup generator for DraftKings purposes, and I just wanted to see. I saved 20, I saved another 20, was taking a look to see if I got any Caleb Martin at all. The answer is no. No, I did not get a single share of Caleb Martin. Got a share or two of Kevin Love, but I don't know what to make of these minutes. I don't know what kind of a rotation or what the rotation is that Jaime Jaquez is kind of mined out for himself here. You have Josh Richardson as well that can eat up some of those minutes. It's a different price tier than those guys sitting at 4,100, but I strongly prefer Kevin Love if you're trying to go cheap with one of those guys. We know his fantasy point per minute rate going to be exponentially better. We know he's been on the floor for 14 minutes in a row, or 14 minutes a game for his last 3 in a row. So I think he stays in this rotation, and at 3,700 with his fantasy point per minute rate, I just think he's a little bit better of a play than that of Caleb Martin. Caleb Martin does have that shooting guard positionality, but I don't think with the amount of like Moses Moody, Isaiah Joe, Poshemski, these guys that I'm getting to, that I really need to make any kind of a stance here on Caleb Martin. I'm probably not going to play him whatsoever.
All right. And then as a comparator there for Gary Payton II, would you lean that way, or would you look for somebody else sort of in that upper $3,000 price range?
Yeah, upper threes is interesting. There's just a lot of guys you can take shots on, but you don't feel particularly good about any. It's just they allow you to get some of those studs and some of those guys that you feel a little bit better about in your lineups. I prefer Kevin Love between him and Gary Payton at their current ownerships, just on the surface. You got 6% Kevin Love, Gary Payton 21%, but I do think there's an opportunity for Gary Payton to play a lot more minutes, where he's right now at 17 in our projections. I think his range of outcomes, if he gets out, plays well, or they need him defensively on an SGA, there's an opportunity for him to walk into 22, 24 minutes, and it wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. Again, Poshemski, because he played so well last game, we're seeing 28.4% coming in on him. Let's just imagine a world where he didn't see the floor whatsoever, would we be reacting this way with Draymond Green out? It had way more to do with Klay Thompson being out. Now Klay Thompson's in here. I think he probably carved out a decent size rotation, and they're going to take shots on everybody, but I think it becomes a hot hand approach. I think at the upper levels, I like Gary Payton II as well. Kevin Love, though, from just like my logical perspective, I think he's somebody that I just want to get overweight to, and I'll probably give a little bit of an ROI boost, but doubt I get over the field on him, even though he's around a 1.2 fantasy point per minute guy. I think for me, it's going to be Moses Moody because he's 3,600 and nobody wants to click on him. He's at least been in this rotation no matter what. He only played 14 minutes last game, but man, Podziemski came in, played really, really well. I think knowing that Steph and Draymond are going to be out, Moses Moody, his size there, I think this becomes a spot where we can try to force him into a couple of our lineups here. Again, none of these guys are certainties. None of these guys are just like your target rich environment. It's just a target laden environment, if you will.
All right. The only other person kind of in that area, I don't want to burn center spot on Jalen with the Y, but the other person in that price range, Kenrich Williams,
yeah,
he missed a month with the back issue. So he has only played in one game. That was 2 days ago. He played 15 minutes. With the Thunder mostly healthy, you're kind of looking, and God only knows what they do with their second half rotations, and they're just mad scientists everywhere. He's going to play anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes at this point. I think if he was fully healthy, his baseline would be somewhere between 20 and 25. Coin flip on which side it lands on, because the variance with these guys is all over the place. He's a decent cheap guy because he can do a whole bunch of things and he can play multiple positions. So there are different paths for him to find success, but capped at those minutes, similar to Caleb Martin, kind of makes it a little tougher at this point. But it's a 2-game slate, no stone unturned, where these guys would not be mentioned on a 6-game slate. We got to talk about them here because that's going to be our differentiation plays. Real quick, let's do DK tiers and then we'll go into whatever's left on Miami, because we had Ace of Spades drop his usual super chat here. Tier 1, I think it's going to be Shai Gilgeous-Alexander over Bam and Jimmy. That one's pretty easy. Tier 2, you've got Mikal Bridges slightly ahead of Chet Holmgren. You've got Josh Giddey and Spencer Dinwiddie rounding that out. Who would it be for you? Would you go with Bridges, or would you dip down to one of those other options?
Probably going to be Bridges at that one.
All right. Chris Paul stands out by about 5 points in tier 3. I think that's the easy way to go.
That's the easiest tier. Yeah.
We'll talk a little bit about Klay Thompson, but his minutes quite haven't been there, and his effectiveness, and after 2 catastrophic leg issues, he is just multiple years older. The rest of the players really don't have that same ceiling as Chris Paul and his 38-year-old hamstrings. There will be in-game rest for him at some point. I don't think they're going to let him play much more than the 36 minutes he had in the last game, but he does look like the best option here. The tier 4 gets a little crowded. You've got Cameron Johnson, again, coming back from that hamstring issue. You've got Duncan Robinson, Kevon Looney, looking like he's going to play 28 to 30 minutes tonight, has a nice rebounding matchup there. Kyle Lowry, almost as old as Chris Paul. What stands out for you in tier 4?
I mean, this is kind of a weird one in general. Like, I think Chris Paul, because he's just like, for me, would be the lock and load tier 3 guy. I'd be inclined to try to get a little bit different on a 2-game slate here. It's not going to make you feel good, but I think Duncan Robinson's just one of those guys that'll go out and just, he could bury you in this tier, playing a lot more minutes. They obviously need the shooting on the floor. I feel pretty confident that his minutes are going to be pretty unaffected going forward. He's been exponentially better. He's also the guy who got absolutely paid beforehand. And obviously they had the wherewithal to play some Gabe Vincent in spots where they needed more defense. But Duncan Robinson has been playing massive minutes here. Seeing 36, even with, a number of these guys coming back, like it's going to maybe come down a little bit. But yeah, I'd probably be looking at a Duncan Robinson as maybe the contrarian piece there.
No, and that's a good call out because a couple of these tiers just have some standout players. Weirdness can obviously happen, and even in basketball, there's enough variance with these guys shooting enough threes. But we get to our next one here, and we have Dario Saric in a bit of a remember me game, but he's standing out because he's got, we're looking at Steph Curry being out and Draymond, and, that's a fair amount of offense and front court minutes. In his last game, he ended up with 21 points, 36 fantasy points.
Don't even forget, he started with Draymond Green there. Like that's the thing. Like he had played himself into the starting unit already. So I assume he's starting tonight, and he's like no doubt the best value piece on the entire slate to me. Like if you don't call Chris Paul value, I mean, 5,200 for Dario is like the best quote unquote value.
Yeah, and I think even chasing him down, I mean, you could look for his teammate Andrew Wiggins would be the next guy, but between Klay Thompson and Andrew Wiggins together, they have one game this season of more than 30 fantasy points. That's no bueno, Eric. No bueno. And then wrapping up tier 6 here, you've got Kuminga, you've got Podziemski, Jaquez Jr., Day'Ron Sharpe, Kenrich Williams. This is where you get to sprinkle in your magic. Who pops for you, and then we'll hit the Miami Heat here.
Oh, I didn't look at the last tier. I just clicked off of tiers. What were the
Kuminga, Podziemski, and Jaime Jaquez are the main ones.
Oh my God.
I mean, wait, close your eyes. Point.
I mean, it really has to do. I mean, Golden State, we just assume that your starting lineup is Chris Paul jumping in for Steph Curry, and we assume that we're going to get Dario Saric there. Like, those are the two things you just have to assume. Chris Paul made his first start there since the 27th. Yeah, he did. So 36 minutes there for him last time out. I think if you assume that it's Paul and you assume that it's Saric once again, then we just move on with our lives. And I would say Podziemski probably becomes the over-owned piece of that grouping. If something wonky happens with the starting lineup, which is totally valid and totally live, I think you kind of adjust from there. But as it stands right now, I would be uncomfortable saying Podziemski, but it probably is.
All right. I think I would skip him. I would probably go Jaquez or Kuminga just for differentiation.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what to make of his fantasy point per minute rate going forward, because I mean, we go back to the preseason, he had like a nothing usage rate. I mean, 10% usage rate against Sacramento in 32 minutes, where he started in that game, played alongside some of the main guys. The Lakers, 13.5%. So for him to have a 23.6% usage, it was just like, hi, go out and try to make this game competitive. And he played really, really well, but I don't expect that kind of a usage rate going forward. He's averaging now a 1.05 fantasy point per minute rate so far this season, but that's like impossible to look at and take seriously, because he played 23 of those minutes in a blowout with nobody on the floor next to him in New Orleans. And then that last game, which is a 1 game sample size. So we'll see going forward, but inclined to think that he would be the guy I would short.
All righty. Miami, we hit on a few pieces here. Bam Adebayo has seen most of his numbers moving up this year, which is rather impressive. You've got Jim Evans hosting the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah, for me, Jimmy Butler's a piece I'm just not going to get to. The Sims tool, not really landing me on a whole heck of a lot here. I think the Sims tool is smarter than I am. There is no doubt for me that he's the guy that amongst some of these studs is the one that it has the least amount of certainty in terms of what that usage is going to be. You need to get some of that assist rate back from a Bam Adebayo or from a Kyle Lowry. I don't see that happening here. I mean, Jimmy Butler's just kind of in no man's land there. He's small forward only. There's only 3 spots you can play him on DraftKings accordingly, the small forward utility spot. And you're locking up a spot in an early game when there are some pieces in Oklahoma City. And I just prioritize getting to an SGA at the top end, a Bam Adebayo on the top end. I mean, if Jimmy Butler goes out and burns me against a really stout wing unit there in Brooklyn, so be it. But he had to shoot the ball extremely efficiently. 11 for 14 from the line wasn't like efficient by his standards. I mean, he's generally like an 85, 86% free throw shooter, but 10 for 14 from the field there. You're not getting a lot of those counting stats to come along for the ride. Hasn't had more than 7 boards since the second game of the season. He's only had 7 boards. That's been his top game in that regard. And then the assist rates come down. 6 assists, the top for him all season long. So he's scoring dependent. He's 8,600. He's a little bit overpriced for the matchup. And, both of these teams just barely in the bottom half in the NBA in terms of pace. Jimmy Butler, if he beats me, he beats me. I'm going to have almost none.
All right. Fair enough. Anything on the value side? Or are you ready to talk the late game?
If you want to get ridiculous, like absolutely ridiculous, I do think the one guy you could take a look at is Josh Richardson, 4,800. I mean, this is 33 minutes against Charlotte. If he gets it going, those minutes definitely have room to grow. There's no guarantee that Caleb Martin's going to walk into 22, 24 minutes. We've got him right around 18 minutes. And I think that at least creates an opportunity where 24 minutes being the projection on Josh Richardson, just 4%. That's one of those where if it works out for you, it could really work out for you. But he's a terrible fantasy point per minute guy so far on the season, just 0.65, a little bit of a far cry from what we've seen in the days of yore. But hey, maybe they're getting him to be a little bit more assertive. We've seen that usage trail up a little bit here in the last few games, averaging right around 16% usage as opposed to the 14% usage he's had previous to that. So tiny uptick there in opportunity. Again, that's just like the largest of large field tournaments, though, to get different.
All righty. I was around for days of yore. Did you know that? Your mom?
Yeah, I was going to say, I believe you came up with the term.
I don't think he heard me, Jordan. I said your mom. But actual rage, actual steam coming out of Eric's ears. But there we go. If not having fun, we're having fun now. I think we got our super chats here, Jordan. I think we're good to go on those. So let's see. That's okay. Got him. Hit the like button. That was a pretty good one that slipped on in there. Also, be aware of the Stokastic Avatar promotion. Go to stokastic.com/avatar. Download the Stokastic Avatar. Upload that to your DFS site of choice. Get first, second, or third. That's top 3. No ties. Well, a 3-way tie for first counts, but not a 20-way or 50-way tie like we get in Showdown. 3-way tie maximum for first, and you will get 30 days of Stokastic Premium of the package of your choice. There's a joke in there for you, Eric, but I'm just going to leave that one be for the time being. One is enough tonight. One is enough for you, but you can select anyone with the package and get that if you have the Stokastic Avatar. All you got to do to claim that, in addition to finishing top 3 in a contest of 5,000 or more people, send that avatar with the screenshot of that avatar to Stokastic HOF on Twitter. And you can also tag Lofty D, because he's going to be the one that reads your name in his dulcet tones as you get featured on the Stokastic Hall of Fame segment. So check that out. That is the Stokastic Avatar promotion. Eric, the late game. So can I just skip the first game and play everybody from the late game?
Sure.
That doesn't work very well. That would be an illegal lineup. But we're in the late game here. We're looking at OKC. How much Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is going to end up in your life tonight?
Probably north of 70% is what it looks like. I'm building out 50 lineups, my typical 50 on a show here, then building out NFL. So again, check out the NFL Live before lock after this here. But SGA is going to be my highest owned spend up here. So easy to run into his 1.53 fantasy point per minute producer here on the season. We've adjusted that down to 1.44 here for tonight at Stokastic. I think that's a little bit appropriate, but here's the thing. It's a 3-point spread, and I just talked about how I was talking about the blowouts on the Brooklyn side of things. Oklahoma City has had 3 games where the final score was decided by 20 or more points. We had SGA out there for a hot second. Only had to play 28 minutes of duty there against San Antonio, so he is rested, ready. 7 steals. That was just absurd last time out. But I just look at a guy like SGA. He is going to make life hell for Golden State. He's so damn good. It's ridiculous. He'd look really good on the Clippers about now, just throwing it out there. But SGA, 36 minutes for him. He is projected for 52 fantasy points for me. That is really, really nice and hard to make up elsewhere.
All right. As we branch out from there, things get a little tricky. You've got Chet Holmgren looking interesting at 7,500. Josh Giddey, of course, doing a little bit of everything, averaging a tick shy of 40 DK points in his last 2 games. He is a reasonable option. Jalen Williams, that is Jalen Williams, power forward, a little bit enigmatic, as is Lou Dort. We haven't, Lou Dort gets hot. And when he's sinking those 3-pointers, looks real good. When those are not falling, he's a very, very pedestrian play. His salary has ticked up a little bit. He's at 5,500, makes him a little tough to go with there on DK. Even looking at point per dollar on DK, it's really the top 4 with Shai, Chet, Giddey, and Jalen without the Williams. It's Jalen power forward Williams here. Everybody else falls off a cliff. How are you getting many of Shai's teammates if you're earmarking all the salary towards him right now?
Yeah, I like getting to Chet, obviously. I mean, the other thing is Chet's averaging just 30 minutes a game here. I would be floored if we didn't see him average like 34 minutes a game the rest of the way as they built him up. Looks really good off of his Laz Frank injury, and it's pretty great to see him out there and doing the things he's capable of. The rebound rate has a lot of room to grow as those minutes grow. Really like the over 7.5 for him here against this front court from the Golden State side. Yeah, Looney's a good rebounder, but Chet Holmgren, it's just a 2-3 point spread, depending where you were looking or what time you got in on it. It's at 3.5 here now, but Oklahoma City should be a team that has Chet Holmgren, who leads all of the qualified rotation pieces. Really the only guy in the rotation there. 13.5% rebound rate, total rebound rate. I like Chet Holmgren, 7,500. He's somebody that we could routinely still be paying 8,500 for very, very shortly as those minutes start to grow.
All righty. Jordan, is Eric's camera looking okay? I don't know.
What happened to my camera? Did I disappear?
Yeah, something like that. I forgot to pay the camera bill.
I don't think so. It literally turned off somehow, some way. The camera bill. Stop it. Stop it.
Just see it if you're listening. Just seeing if you're listening.
Yeah, Lindy got
all right.
naked, I think.
Chat. Well, yeah.
There we go.
There we go. Eric is back. He forgets, he goes on the OnlyFans feed and then forgets to switch back here.
Maybe my co-host is not very nice from time to time. Might be another part of this deal.
Greg's not on this show.
Which is saying
I'm
something.
Nice.
EMac.
Greg is mean. Greg is very mean.
Greg is very mean. It's like
I'm nice. Just ask your mom.
He's like a dictator. Emphasis on the dick.
I can't. I have. There's so many follow-ups right there, Jordan. But yes, we're gonna let that.
No need. Eggplant emoji in the chat. Eggplant emoji in the chat.
There we are. All righty. Let's head over to Golden State. Let's see what's up here. They are 3-point underdogs at home. As we mentioned, no Steph Curry through the weekend. No Draymond Green for 5 games. Chris Paul and his 38-year-old hamstrings will be taking the court tonight. He is projecting, obviously, as the best play on Golden State. Dario Saric looking solid as the power forward. Don't need to burn a center spot on him. So that is on either side. So he is, I think, one of, as Eric mentioned, one of our better value options. And then you have the duo of Klay Thompson and Andrew Wiggins, 130 fantasy point game between them this season. Yikes. Let's talk Kevon Looney, and then you can go through the rest of the starters here, and then we'll have Jordan display some tools.
So
Stokastic
this
tools,
is,
that is.
I think this is like the major question that I have on this slate, and we're going to be able to swap into enough pieces. Everybody's going to have enough pieces of this late game. But what happens to Kevon Looney's minutes? And does he start? Are we guaranteed that he's going to start here? He did not start the previous game there against Minnesota. You had a team opted ball there in Golden State, and Kevon Looney ended up getting 31 minutes purely because Draymond Green got ejected. But now no Draymond Green. I expect that Kevon Looney is going to still be a big part of this rotation in some capacity. I just really want to see this starting unit badly. But because we have so much exposure to it, you're going to be able to swap into other pieces unless you have like 5 Miami, Brooklyn pieces for whatever reason in lineups. But if you're making stuff in the Sims tool, if you're making stuff in the lineup generator, either of them, it's going to be really hard to land on those kind of builds because Dario Saric, really good chalk, assuming that he's starting and assuming that he plays the typical role he's had this season. Then you got Chris Paul, phenomenal chalk, like probably the best chalk piece of this slate, really impossible for me to get away from. I think it's going to be Kevon Looney as like a luxury piece. I really don't see myself getting to a lot of him at this kind of ownership. 36.5%. That's double that of a Chet Holmgren, obviously in completely different price tiers. But if Looney ends up starting here, because he did play a majority of that, then we can have a different conversation. But as it is right now, yeah, he's around a fantasy point per minute guy, but I've got him in for 26 minutes right now. We've got him 27 minutes here at Stokastic. And for me, that's just not going to have him land in a ton of what I'm doing.
All righty. Interesting slate here. They always are. If you're looking at who's your wild card from Golden State that you're terrified you do not have represented enough in your tournament or your
See, I'm not terrified that he's not represented. I do have a wild card, and that's Trace Jackson Davis.
Tell me about Moses Moody first, and then go to TJD. I am not familiar with him.
Okay, so we'll start with Moses Moody. He's at least been in this rotation. And for me, this is like, what does the lineup look like for OKC when you don't have Chet Holmgren out there? Jalen Williams, he's a center. He's a quote unquote true center there. He's going to be pulling absolutely no ownership. He's my wild card, by the way, on the Oklahoma City side. If this game gets wonky, he's 3,600. Centers, generally have a better fantasy point per minute rate. He's right at 0.9 for the season. We have him like around a 0.73 fantasy point per minute rate. I think that's a little bit too low. I think we have an opportunity to see, a cheap center on a 2-game slate workout. That's kind of the way that things work almost all the time here. But as I look at my lineups right now, I'm forcing it a little bit extra Moses Moody, because offensively, if it's not Podziemski and he's getting all the ownership there, he wasn't even a part of the rotation until last time out. Moses Moody could very well be the guy who gets hot right from the get-go there. And he's a 0.92 fantasy point per minute guy so far this season, with a lot larger sample size attributed to him. Only a 16.2% usage, but shooting guard, small forward. He's $1,000 less than Podziemski, and he's pulling absolutely no ownership. He is a guy that at 3,600, just give me more of the field than Moody. Give me way less on Podziemski. And then, Trace Jackson Davis. There's nothing really to say besides the fact that, like, he can be a backup center type, and maybe they don't want Looney playing 36 minutes. Maybe they don't want Saric playing 32 minutes, kind of a deal. Somebody's got to be in that front court, because Chet Holmgren is tall as shit. You've got a team that can't really go that small there. And Trace Jackson Davis, we saw him play 12 minutes, was in that rotation against Minnesota once Draymond Green got ejected. I think if you put him in for 10 minutes, there's a chance for a 3,500 Trace to kind of work out for you, because there's really nobody sitting in the 3K area that I have any interest in, like the lower end of that range. I think those minutes also have an opportunity to be extended, because I think this just might be a hot hand approach rather than everybody in the field just assuming that it's going to be Podziemski because of last game.
All righty, we've got some fun stuff ahead here. Reminder, we do have the Millie promo code here, because we had a winner take down the Millionaire Maker utilizing the Stokastic Sims tool. So we're offering looks like 20 bucks off or 20% off?
20% off, my friend.
It says $20 sign here.
Oh, you can't read the page. That's shocking.
No, I'm looking at the old run sheet here. We'll have a little talk with the run sheet people. But 20% off the Sims package. Deal ends on Monday. That is promo code Millie, Milly, as in Millie Maker. And shout out to, who was it? Short TV, I think was the name. It's a gamer.
Short Gamer TV.
Short Gamer TV. There we go. He's been around for a while. I believe I remember him from the early days of the Fan by Stokastic days. So shout out to him. Very, very cool. But check that out. That is the Stokastic Maximum Sims package for NFL. Any other fun we've got going on here, Mr. Lindquist? I'm uploading my lineups right now. Knocking on wood, nothing crazy happens, but I think I'm all set and good to go. Yeah. Are you as well?
Yeah, I'm just about. I'm rerunning one more sim here. Just remember, it's a 2-game slate. You want to be able to give yourself some swap ability. You're going to have it naturally. You don't have to worry about who's going to be starting for Golden State yet. Just kind of have a game plan in place. Understand that if Saric isn't starting, there's a potential floor for it. Doesn't mean you want to eliminate him, but he will be overowned as a result. Like, sometimes people have a tendency of like going back and thinking about the results of something and trying to build, as though this slate is like every other slate. Why did my camera go off again? What is going on here? Every time I run the Sims. Every time I run the Sims, my camera goes off. How is this even real?
I don't know. I thought it was the super chats and your clothes going off and you getting confused between OnlyFans.
How is this even real?
I don't know.
I'm so confused. There it went on and there it went off again. Start. I'm beside myself right now. All right. I'm going to upload mine here as well. Got to throw it out there. Gary Payton II looks like he's going to be my value play du jour as it stands right now. Doesn't mean that that's going to maintain, but yeah, that's going to be a real fun feeling.
I see we have a super chat here. So, oops, that's MLB. That's not going to help me. I was trying to get to our player compare tool here. Where is it? There we go. So we've got FanDuel question here from Cheyenne. Looking at 3v3 on FanDuel. First three is Bridges, Dorian Finney-Smith, and Dario Saric, or Butler, Royce O'Neal, whose name we did not mention, I don't think, and Kuminga. So that's Bridges, DFS, and Saric, Butler, Royce O'Neal, and Kuminga. Oh, we just have the two.
I'm looking at it. I'm trying to feel who I'm gonna. I really have very little. Yeah, it's so gross because Royce O'Neal is somebody that like I think makes some sense for this slate. He's showing up 42% of the time for me in the Sims right now. I'm probably going to go with the second one, although Butler, I really don't want to be playing in any way, shape, form. I have to go the first one just because I have no Butler. I'm going to go the first one.
I would lean towards the first one as well. I like Saric amongst the four cheapies there. And I guess I give the slight nod to Bridges. You did have some good call-outs there about the game flow, potentially capping his minutes. We are projecting him for like 36, I think, tonight. So that's about where he plays anyway. But, you know, a little efficiency on his side, he can probably pop off. So yeah. I'll go the first one with that. I better upload my lineups. Oh, we got 11 minutes. Are you going to be playing any NFL tonight, Eric?
Oh, I'm absolutely playing NFL tonight.
All right. I should still have some DK head-to-heads there in the DraftKings lobby.
Knew you'd throw it out there for the people.
Username EMac.
Shameless self-promotion.
Last of the big spenders. Just a buck, but pride is priceless.
Kevin Love's my second highest owned Miami Heat player and my second highest owned player in that game. Rip to me.
All right. I've got 100 lineups. Kevin Love is, oh God, I only have him on 17 lineups.
Out of 150?
Out of 100. I'm just doing
out of 100. I mean, that'll be okay. I have 44%, so that is surely going to go well.
77% Dario Saric. So
yeah, I have a lot of Dario. Super Dario is a phenomenal play, assuming he's starting. And even if he doesn't, he's in play, he'll just be overowned, so you have to accept that.
Absolutely. And that I have zero issues with. And I like Looney as well. I think I like him a little better off the bench, but I don't know. And it's hard to tell what's going to happen with Draymond out. And because Coach Kerr is constantly tweaking his lineup. So even though we just saw what happened in the last game with a full game without Draymond, Clay was also out. It's hard to infer what he's going to do. Makes it tough.
Yeah,
for those of you wondering, we are going to have the NFL live before lock show. That's going to be coming up immediately here. They'll take you down for the last 45 minutes, the 8:15 kickoff tonight. So you'll want to check that out. We also have the premium odd shopper, which is available. We may be getting Florida enlightened. They've allowed gambling here in Florida. However, all sorts of stipulations around it. Currently, the only online gaming is those who had Hard Rock Casino accounts prior to the shutdown 2 years ago are beta testing the platform once again. But fingers crossed they do some mobile gaming here, because I don't want to have to drive to Tampa to place bets. That doesn't seem very fun. But for those of you in the enlightened states, you can look at our premium odd shopper. Has all sorts of tools over there. We've got the parlay builder. We've got the EV bet, the expected value bet, sorting capabilities here, the odd shopper score, the expected ROI for these wagers. It makes things a lot easier, takes out a lot of the heavy lifting. Plus, if you have accounts at several sports books, you can then shop the lines for the better bets or prices even. And just by taking something that's minus 110 instead of minus 119 or minus 125, you end up having a very good time. What happened, Eric?
Were you doing that to me, Jordan, the whole time? Was it you? Oh, okay.
All right. Well, there we go. Ruined my perfectly good read.
Wasn't me. Well, it's okay.
That you weren't on. You weren't on producer mic, were you, Jordan? It's more fun when they can hear you, not just the hosts.
No,
All
no,
right,
no, no,
Jordan's
bro, no,
dropping
dude,
F-bombs.
bro, chill, no.
You know, we dropped the F-bomb, but nobody dropped the nuke of the night.
Oh,
This is yours.
want?
I love the
See,
Slim Pickens. How Dr. Strangelove, or how I stopped worrying about the bomb and learn to love the war, whatever that long title is.
I don't know. I called 36 minutes for De'Aaron Fox his first game back. He puts up 42. It ends up being close to optimal there at the point guard position. Ended up being in the $20 winner. But just throwing it out there. That was the last nuke of the night I had on Monday, I believe it was. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Here we go. Today's nuke of the night. Obviously, there is a lot that will be dictated by what happens with the Golden State starting lineup. So just kind of be ready for it. So I kind of want to make my nuke of the night somebody earlier, but Bam Adebayo is super popular, so I don't think I can necessarily do that. So how about I just give you the value piece from that game that I have a ton of and way more of the field than play Kevin Love. He's somebody that if he knocks down shots and has a competent game, he could play more than these 14 minutes he's kind of been stuck on. And that could be an absolute smash. But calling him the nuke of the night is disingenuous. It's just like a guy I can tolerate. So I'll just make SGA the nuke of the night. He's the top guy in the boom bust tool, 38.8% optimal percentage. He's somebody that if this game gets out of hand, it's probably because SGA went completely nuclear anyway. And if it stays close, SGA is going to be on the floor to be able to steal and pickpocket Podziemski straight back to Santa Clara from which he came. So give me SGA to smash souls.
All right. Chat says they thought I just had a stroke. No, I think I may have made a surprise face when I did actually. I was correct. I said it incorrectly, but Dr. Strangelove, or how I learned to stop worrying and love the bomb. I remember watching that movie when I was a kid. It was only on TV. It came out
TV in 1843.
Black and white only. Black and white only.
Was it something where you took the pictures and you lined them up and then you did the little flip book thing?
No, you had to run by them very quickly and look at them with one eye, and then it looked like they were moving.
How is Alexander Graham Bell?
Not too bad. I preferred hanging out with Nikola Tesla a little bit better.
Gotcha. Good people.
All right. I think we're going to wrap this up so Jordan can get to the other show going because, hey, NFL, Thursday Night Football, Week 11 getting underway. If you guys are a little bored, cruise on over there to the Stokastic homepage. Couple free articles there, a couple for basketball, and then, of course, the NFL breakdown for the Thursday night primetime football. Thank you for letting me do the show here with you, Eric.
Thank you for hanging out here. I hope everybody's treating you nicely at your home over there. Hopefully the staff is very, very dependable and timely with your depends.
All right, prune juice for everybody. With that, you can follow Eric on Twitter at Eric Lindquist. I am at EMac DFS. Of course, it is Stokastic _COM. With that, gamers, good luck.